Hello and welcome to the next installment of the Blender tutorial. And today is probably, it's fair to say, the most awaited video probably so far. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about exporting today, and I think it's something that many people struggle on, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. It's like second nature. So don't worry about it too much, and I'll try and explain it the best I can. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So, before you even start modeling, I advise setting up your file structure correctly. So, all you want to do is you want to open File Explorer and just find a place where you can put all your files. Make a new folder, and I've called it here base underscore video. You can call it whatever you want. You can just call it whatever, and that will be your base folder. Okay. So I've made mine here. Once you make your new folder, you're going to make two folders. By the way, you can name this here, whatever you want, okay? Now you go into this folder, you're gonna make two folders. This time the name matters. You want to make a def and a model folder, okay? So def, model, okay? All lowercase, make sure you got those two folders. In the def folder, you're gonna click it, you're gonna make another folder called world. So this is how you make a folder, just like that, okay? And you call it world. I'm gonna delete this because you don't need that. But yeah, so def and then world, and then this should be blank. Okay, we'll get to this in a little bit. Then you're gonna go back, go into model, again, make a folder here, and you can name this whatever you want. Okay, you can just. I don't think there's a word limit, but I always just like to keep things as short as possible. It's just good practice, just to do these things. But yeah, just you can name it whatever you want. I've called mine Mango Model. In here, you're going to have your textures and your model files. Obviously, your model files are not here yet because you haven't exported everything. But um, yeah, your texture should be here. So go find a texture online or whatever texture you're currently using. Put them all in here. You don't necessarily have to put them in this folder, but for now, for learning purposes, put them in this folder. I've just got this random blue. I don't know, it looks like dots and panels. I don't know what that is. But yeah, that's my texture. I've just called it mango texture. Again, keep it short. I think you can still name this whatever you want though, so don't worry about it too much. And the important thing is that you save it as a .tga, okay? So you can also use PNG, but I think for me, PNG sometimes didn't work for me, so I would just use TGA. It's the safest method, and there really isn't any difference. So just use here .tga save. Um, it's asking me to. I don't need to replace it. It's fine. So yeah. Make sure it's .tj. Okay, now in terms of this thing inside the world folder, what I want you to do is go to my um, forum post. I'll put a link in the description, and here where I said the thing you'll need, I want you to click on that and download it here. It's just a SII file, so you're just gonna save the file. And yeah, you can literally put it in the folder that you just made, the world folder. You can put it straight into there and there. Okay, so now it's over here and it will look like this, but I want you to, yeah, so keep this running and I want you to change it to look something like this. Okay, so just what you see on the screen now, just change it so it's like that. um I think it's just this part you have to get rid of or something, but yeah, make sure it looks like this because the one in the other one is a little bit wrong. I've had some people tell me that I was wrong. um, it still works, but it would throw up some errors. But just make sure it looks like this. And where you have XXXX, just give it a number. I would use a four-digit number. I'm just gonna say 3004. Um, it doesn't really matter what number you choose. Just bear in mind that another model could be using that number. So if you want to make it pretty high, you can do that. Don't make it too high though, otherwise the game will not register your model. But yeah, just use any number you want. Just make sure that it's not going to cause any mod conflicts. Then here, model, and here this Y part where I've done here, right? That is, if you go to back to your base folder, you go to model and this folder here. You're going to copy this and open up this again and then replace it like that. Okay. This Z part is gonna be your model name, which you'll do later. So just press save and exit. So if you go to the dev folder, it should. I've also renamed mine. You have a limit of 12 characters, I believe, and they can only be numbers, letters, and underscores. Okay, that's all you can do. So there, I've just renamed it. Make sure it's model dot and then something. Okay, right. Yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of your file structure. Next thing you want to go is into Blender and you want to specify that base folder because SCS Tools needs to know where the base folder is. So it's this first tab here, and as you can see, this folder is not the same as what I just made. So every time you're starting a project, make sure you set your base folder. So you're going to click on this folder icon. You're going to go out and find that folder, which is here. And then once you see def and model, don't select any of this. Just literally click on your base folder and then press select. And if all is well, it should not be red. It should be fine. Now, now it's basically your time to make your model, whatever you're doing. I'm gonna just make something very quickly. Just something very just weird. Let's just do that. I don't know. Let's make an icosphere. Uh, just leave it like that, and then I don't know. What should we do? We'll get some of the faces and just I don't know, extrude them out along normals. I haven't got my screencast keys. I should probably turn that on. There we go. Right, and then I'm just gonna move that like that. Just make something really weird. And yeah, actually, you know what? Let's make it just a normal icosphere. Then it'll just look too weird. And maybe let's add a cube because I want to show what happens if you have multiple objects. So there we are. That's our two objects. This light and the camera, you can delete them if you want. I like to keep them because I like to do renders of my models. But if you don't want to see them, just click on them, press H, so it will hide it. You can see here the little eye icon there. And also I like to move the stuff into the scene collection. So I have my models in the collection archive. I don't know what is that archive collection, whatever, same thing. So um yeah, so let's say this is my model. This is what I wanted to do, and yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of my model. But you might have something more complex. So yeah, I know a friend of mine has a truck grill he wants to export. So no, if you have that, then yeah, you're ready to go. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to basically in game, uh, all of the objects are modeled as shade smooth, and you can see it looks a little bit weird. It looks very smooth, but it looks a little bit weird. That's not really what I want to go for. And in game, this is what it will look like, and it will look very weird. So what you want to do is you want to go to the modifier tab, add modifier, and click edge split. Right, well, that hasn't worked. That's because I've got an icosphere. But you need to change the angles, right, here. So if it's like 18 degrees, that means if the angle is more than, I think if it's less than 18 degrees, then it will shade smooth. And if it's more than 18 degrees, it will shade flat. So you can see here, the more I increase it, sorry, other way around. So the higher the angle, the more smoother it is. So you can see here, I've gone to 0 and it's just how I wanted it. I want to see the vertices. If you want it that smooth, then yeah, just play around with it and see what happens, how you want it to look, okay? So I'm going to put mine all the way to 0 because it was like 10 or something. And then here, just click here and apply. Now, you got to do this with everything in your scene. So again, if I did shade smooth, this looks very weird. So again, it's split. There you go. Okay, 30 usually works for most objects. Um, so yeah, just add your edge splits and then you're good to go. Next thing is your materials. Okay, so I'm not going to go into in depth too much here. But yeah, let's just see if I'm still recording. I am. Good. So yeah, materials. Again, I will go into this in depth maybe the next video actually. I'm not sure. But yeah, material tab. Okay. So let's say these two are gonna have the same material, okay? Let's just keep it simple. what you want to do is you're going to go to the material tab, which is here, click new, and you can rename this whatever you want. I'm just going to name it blue. This naming thing is not the same as the SCS material, so you can name it whatever you want. It won't matter. Um, Now this stuff here, this is, let's just go into the render tab. This has got nothing to do with SCS tools. It's just the Blender interface, and that will not change your color. So yeah, what you want to do is first of all turn on backface culling for both objects. So we're just gonna use the same material for each one. So yeah, make sure you've got backface culling on, and then you're going to scroll down. You can click adapt color management if you want. I like to do it because it sort of looks like how it would look like in game. So yeah, you can do that. And you want to click here, shader presets. You want to add a shader. So you click here, and for the simple model, which is just gonna appear and maybe have light shone on it or something like that, use div spec. All of these are different shaders. So you can see we've got glass. Building.day is like something you'd use for a window maybe. Reflective maybe for a sign. But for now, we're gonna go simple and use div spec. As soon as you do that, you'll see everything's gone black. That's because you need to add vertex colors to active. So just click vertex colors to active. You could also press all, um, but if you press active, yeah. Now it still looks black, and that's because we haven't specified which texture to use. So here, where the red thing is here, it wants the texture. So it wants that texture file. So click on the folder and find the texture, just here. Okay, you can see one of our models now has it. And here where it says mapping, just click it and click UV map. Every model will come with its own UV map by default, and you could change that UV map. Again, another episode we're gonna go over that. And the last thing is to create the .tobj. Click that, and it will create a .tobg, which you will need. Um, you can click U and V repeat if you're. Again, we'll go over this later. I'm not going to talk about this now. But yeah, just make sure you do those three things here, and I'll show you what the TobyG button does. And if you go into where your texture is, you can see there's now another file here, and don't mess around with it, just leave it there. And that's just telling, it's just talking to SCS tools and what shader to use for your texture, I believe. But yeah, you always need a .tobg with a texture. That is a must. So yeah. Okay, once you've done all that, you'll see that this other model maybe is also black again. Because we're using the same material, I do not need to, again, find the texture, create a TobyG, um, UV map, all that. I just have to press add vertex colors to active, okay? Because they're sharing the same material. Let's say they weren't sharing the same material, then you'd have to remove this and make a new one and repeat the process, but when you get to this stage, you'd have to obviously select your other texture. But we're just going to use the blue one. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So just double check with your materials. You've got your shader. Um, you don't need to mess around with this. Again, maybe later we'll talk about this. And then here you got your shade, your texture selected. Your if you have this little like refresh button and it's not red, that means you've got your TobyG. And then your UV map should be selected as well. If your model looks good and it's got the texture and everything, then you're pretty much good to go. So, um, yeah, we are done with our in-game Blender stuff. So now we're going to move on to the actual exporting. So, when you want to export something, you need to create a root object. So, I'm going to show you what to do. So, um, if you have one model, just select it. If you have multiple, press Shift, hold Shift down, and then click your other model. So you basically click all the objects in your scene, and then you're going to press Shift A, SCS object, root object. And you can see it's given this like three-legged thing. But this is showing all the axes, Z, Y, and X. And basically what's happened is your two objects here have now been parented to this big dangly thing. Um, so yeah, that's what you want. So you want the way you know how it works, if you click one of these axes, if you click the root object and you move it around, your objects are moving with it. If you scale it, your objects are scaling with it. If you rotate it, your objects are rotating with it, okay? That's how you know that this has worked. So, once you have this game object, you're going to click it and rename it. It's probably not a good idea to leave it game object because some lazy bugger might also call it game object and you don't want that. So, I'm going to call it mango, I don't know, mango model. Let's just say that. Okay, and you can name this whatever you want. Once I get this, I'm gonna just copy that. So you need to copy it and then go to your def folder, which you made. So, what was it here? Def world, and click this SII file that you made before, and where it has a ZZZ thing, paste what you just copied. So that now we have the whole thing set up. It's got the number, it's got the file directory towards the model. So let's just press save, and there we go. Right. Once you've got this all set up, the only thing you have to do is click on the root object, go to this little printer icon, and just make sure you have selection on. You don't need anything else ticked, just selection. That will just mean that the the root object you're currently selected will be exported because you could have multiple root objects depending on your model. So once you have that, you click on this, press export, and if it's successful, it will say here successfully completed. If it wasn't successful, you'll get an error message in the same place. It's like I think it's an orange box or yellow box, and that means you've done something wrong and it won't export. So now I'm gonna find where it's exported. It should export in your base folder here by the def and models. You're gonna just highlight these and you can either copy or cut, same thing. I'm gonna press cut and you go to model, mango model, and drop them with your textures. That's what it should look like. You should have a .pim.pit. Okay, job done. Right. That's the first part of exporting. It's not finished yet. This is where a lot of people just ignore it and then try and make it work in game. The game doesn't use .pim.pit, it uses pmd, pmg. So we need to make that. So we're going to need to pack the files. And it's very simple. You're just going to go to the same tab that we were before, scroll down, and you have here the conversion helper. Ignore this part. We don't want this. We're not using this. So ignore this whole thing. And yeah, so here, the first line, you're going to select where you want the mod exported. So I don't really care. I'm just going to put it here somewhere. It doesn't matter where. Maybe don't put it in the def in the model folder. And I'll just probably leave it in here. I don't really care. Here, you just, in the second line, you're going to say what you want to call it. I'm going to call mine model mango. Make sure this is uncompressed. Take clean and convert. Do not click export. And just press pack mod. And this little black thing will come up and it will start exporting. It will start packing and converting your files. And if it just closes by itself, that means you're all good. If it throws up error messages, then you've done something wrong again. And again, there's a little message here that tells you that it's done and everything's good. If there's an error on the black screen, um, do not close that window. So let the whole thing finish and then press enter. If you try and close the window, your Blender will crash. Okay, so that black screen, that black little box, never ever close it. Just let it do its thing. When it's done, press enter. Okay, right. That is pretty much it. So if all goes well, we have our zip file here, and that's essentially like an SCS file. You should have an automat file, and don't mess around with this. It's just something for the game to read. So I have here automat file, a def and model. We have our SII file and model. We have our PMD, PMG, DDS. Your .tga texture will transform to DDS so that it runs in game. But yeah, make sure your initial textures are .tga, .tobj, and yeah, everything is done. If you want to test your model out, you could just press copy, go to your mod folder, which I should have here, and just press paste. I have a lot of models here. My naming system is very unique. Um, but yeah, you just put it in your mod folder. Ideally, move all your mods, trailer mods to a different folder. So you can see here, I've moved mine to mod G and have all my other folders. Um, by the way, shout out to Dotek if I can find this mod. Uh, Never mind. But shout out to Dotek. He's a good friend. And then yeah, mod, and here we have our um, zip file. Now I'm not going to show you how to open the map. Oh, make sure you save, by the way. Make sure you save your work in case Blender crashes. Just going to save it here. So you can close Blender now. I'm not going to show you how to open the map editor, but if you know, then you can test your models out. There's many tutorials online on how to open the map editor. Um, so yeah, if you have the file in your mod folder, then it's going to work in game in the content browser. So I open up the map editor. Again, if you have a different type of model, a truck mod, a trailer mod, you're probably not going to do this, but you're going to have to open the game up on its own, and then maybe go into customization and see if it's all worked. Um, yeah, you might also need to use locators and stuff. Again, I'll go over this later, but this is a simple model export. This is how you do it. So yeah, it's just loading up. I'll give it a second. I hope I've explained this well, because this is like the fifth time I've been doing this one. I don't know what this is. Uh, just press cancel. Uh, Takes a while, eh? Takes a while. Alright, we're in. Uh, why can I not see anything? Oh, there we go. Very laggy. Uh, let's just go somewhere we can see our model. Just go to the motorway. Uh, and now I'm going to drag the content browser here, and you just literally need to type the name that I gave it. So I think got it. There we go. Mango model. Double click it, and there you go. Our model is in the game. And it can be, and you see here these little axes. That's where the um, SCS root was. That's what it's used for. You can interact with it now. I can even scale it up if I wanted to, like this, and make it look really weird. Um, yeah, I can rotate it if I want, like that. And yeah, that's your model in game. Obviously, and yeah, you got your properties as well, so you can do whatever you want with it. Looks, maybe I'll explain that later. But there's no shadows, by the way. So your mod, where's my model? Have I just lost it? Oh no. Yeah, your model will not have shadows, as you can see by default. So again, we'll have to explain that later. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is how you export a simple model, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you guys later.